I can't imagine that Hickenlooper wants Fast Track's vote to come up in 2010.
But he does want the vote to come up at some point.
He would have to.
Well, they can't wait another year past that, can they? Or can they? Can they wait?
Well, they're debating it.
It's RTD.
They've got various plans.
They got 40 years of making promises they don't keep.
But to your point, John, it's already a fiasco. I mean, what they sold the voters when Hickenlooper read in the campaign, of course, is much different from what exists today. So that's going to be a problem he's going to have to explain as well.
No, that is because he really identified with Fast Tracks. He was kind of the face of Fast Tracks in a big way. He constantly talked about how he put together this regional coalition of cities and mayors and whatnot to back the biggest transit expansion in the United States. It is his thing.
It is
and
Denver's
it did not
big...
work out like as planned.
No, they lied. Let's put it up there. They lied. You know, for those of us who could read a financial plan.
So those are negative campaign ads. Those are negative campaign ads that are going to write themselves.
All right. So you come up. You spawned the term Hickenritter. Well, let's see. Isn't this side going to pop up and go? Yeah. Well, it's a whole lot better than McGinnis Bush. I don't know if that works for Bush McGinnis. You know what separates McGinnis? Here's a guy who, I hate to mention it to you especially, is a lawyer and a lobbyist.
But that doesn't define his career, John. His life is defined by being a police officer in Glenwood Springs. And by the way, Chuck, I think that Scott McGinnis's bona fides in rural Colorado, especially western Colorado, is much stronger than Hickenritter's. I mean, the fact of the matter is he grew up in Glenwood Springs. He was a police officer before he went to college and to law school. And then he was a congressman for 12 years from the 3rd CD, a seat now held by a Democrat, but when Scott had the seat, he actually was unopposed most of the time by the Democrats. And so I think that defines his life, not the fact that he's been affiliated with a law firm for the past couple of years. The problem with my friend Tom Strickland, when you allude to the lawyer lobbyist term, was that was the sum total of his professional life. He went to law school, became a lawyer lobbyist, and then he decided to run for the U.S. Senate. And that's essentially the sum total of his life. Yeah.
Hickenlooper has had a job in the oil industry. That didn't go very well. He sold out. He started a restaurant. He built another restaurant.
And I enjoy his restaurant.
Yeah, and I tell you what, they've had to pick me up on the floor of his brewery many times. And this has been, he has created jobs, unlike the current governor, who I don't think has. He's worked mostly in the public sector. Isn't it going to be a little harder to make that stick? Here's a guy who has had some private sector experience.
John, there's no doubt that Hickenlooper has an interesting story to tell. But as I said a while ago, it is in a governor's race, you have to be specific on the issues. And he can't just ride around on the scooter all over Colorado plugging parking meters. By the way,
if new energy economy can get you elected, and anything can.
The mayor's story is more than...
Let me finish. And the fact of the matter is, we don't have the foggiest idea where he stands on these issues. Mayor Hickenritter has a responsibility to tell us if he would repeal the property tax increase, if he would repeal the vehicle tax increase, if he would repeal the early release of felons, if he would repeal the repeal of the spending limits, the bird harvest spending limits, on and on and on. Because every one of those can be undone by the next governor. And he can't sit around on his scooter and ignore those issues.
We'll also have to see if McGinnis is willing to repeal each and every one of those things. That'll be interesting, and those will be fun questions to ask.
Actually, let's ask that question right now. I mean, I know you don't speak officially for Scott. You're not on his campaign.
I think the Platform for Prosperity made it clear that he would.
He would repeal those and give us back our beloved Bird Arbescal amendment. All right, back over here.
Well, it's just John Hickenlooper's story is pretty interesting to the thoughtful independent. I mean, in the 80s, he was in the oil and gas industry as a geologist. He lost his job. He knows what it feels like to lose your job in that industry. And he became what independents like, the guy who pulled himself up by his own bootstraps and acted in entrepreneurial kinds of ways and became a very successful businessman. Most restaurants last less than 2 years. He created several restaurants that remain successful today.
Let me bring up one other thing, though. The problem for him is that not only Ritter is a problem, but Obama. And remember, a year ago right now, we were inaugurating Barack Obama, and he won an election because he was interesting, and because he had a compelling life story, and he had a charisma about him. And gee, doesn't this sound interesting? And I'll tell you, the people of Colorado and the people of this nation have been burned by Obama. The people of Colorado were burned by Ritter, who campaigned as a moderate pro-business Democrat. I think these unaffiliated voters, Chuck, are not going to get here in Colorado be burned 3 times by the latest charismatic, quirky guy to come along who's really a closet liberal who will impose taxes, release felons early, and do all the things that Bill Ritter and Barack Obama have done.
I just think he has more than his charisma going for him. If it's just the fact that he's the fun Denver mayor, yes, he's in trouble. I think that people who are outside of Denver are going to have to look for more than that. You're right.
Wouldn't you agree, though, that outside forces here, this could be, I think Republicans are overplaying their hand if they think that this is going to be 1994 and there's going to be a Republican revolution.
I've never said that.
Yeah, I think Republicans have betrayed their party and what Republicans said they stood for over the last decade so badly that I don't know if people go running back to their loving arms. That being said, I agree with you. I think that Hickenlooper has some real experience. He has actually done some things. He's built coalitions. And unlike Ritter, he's been able to be, I think, a good administrator for the city. But he's going to have to run against an anti-democratic tide. Those photographs, you can imagine the DNC pictures of he and Obama playing kissing face.
The stimulus bill.
The stimulus bill here.
I mean, that one. That's perfect.
You know, will he become a victim of those unaffiliated, don't call them independents, the unaffiliated who look at this and go, yeah, this is not what we bargained for. If, as we're predicting, Scott Brown wins in a state that went 26 points for Obama, how do all those kissy photos of Obama play out this fall?
It's an excellent question. You're exactly right. I mean, who worked harder in the public eye than John Hickenlooper to bring the convention to Denver? And there's going to be campaign ads aplenty with that. And I guess I'd forgotten about the stimulus, but yeah, I mean, they signed it right there in Denver, and Hickenlooper was right on hand. So that's great. That's great fodder. I just don't know if, again, if Massachusetts goes Republican in this race, it was so much because of just the health care bill.
The failed stimulus, by the way, I forgot to.
Yeah, or the so-called stimulus. I'll say.
The so-called stimulus. And actually, what's the sad thing is all those stimulus road signs there that have Governor Bill Ritter Jr. on it. They're going to have to rip those off pretty soon and put Mayor Hickenlooper on there as well. Quick prediction: who wins?
Massachusetts?
No. Colorado. Less than 30 seconds.
Governor McGinnis will be inaugurated a year from now.
I'm not as certain. You tell me.
I take the opposite view. I'm impressed with John Hickenlooper as a campaigner, as an administrator, as a politician. I think he's got it.
Chuck, thank you. Dick, thank you. Most importantly, thank you. Look for us on the web at independenceinstitute.org. Listen for me late nights on 850 KOA. By all means, tell a friend, and straight on to next week. We'll see you then. You jab a jab, bamboozle, nuka, noozle, bippity bop, You jab a jab, bamboozle, nuka, noozle, bippity bop, I mean, you keep on talking, but you don't know where to turn it off.